In just 93 days, I was able to get my green card without any request for evidence or the need for an interview. So if you want to learn how I did it, please keep watching because I'll be sharing my experience with applying for green card in this video. Welcome back to Wonder with Swang channel, and if you're new here, my name is Swang. And before we begin talking about my experience with applying for green card, I really want to give you guys a quick background of how I came to the US. Last year, 2022, I decided to quit my previous job because I really want to pursue my passion, which is creating content. But at the same time, I also wanted to be with my boyfriend at that time, but now he's my husband. So I decided to come to the US on a tourist visa, B1, B2, to be able to stay with him for a few months while following my dream. Also, at the end of last year, we had a few travel plans together, so it was easier for me to come and stay with him so we can travel together. So as times go by, we really enjoy spending time with each other. Our connection grew stronger from being together 24/7, and we just didn't want to do long distance anymore. So we decided to spend like $200 for a consultation with the lawyer regarding my options. And the lawyer gave me the option either I go back to my home country and apply for a K1 visa or the fiancé visa, or I stay here and apply for the adjustment of status. Of course, we chose the latter option. After the consultation, I was really anticipated for the proposal. So on May 12, 2023, Kevin proposed to me at the restaurant that we went on the first date together. It was magical and very memorable moment for me, and then we got married on the next day. I mentioned earlier about consulting a lawyer, but at the end, we decided not to hire a lawyer. This decision was made based on two reasons. First is hiring a lawyer can be expensive, typically costing around $5,000. And the second reason is our case is straightforward, as described by the lawyer that we consulted with. This is because we don't have a significant age gap, we've never been married before, we don't have any kids from previous relationship, and we've never committed any crime. So if your relationship involved in any of these factors, it might be a better idea to consider hiring a lawyer for your case. After we got married, I thought that we could just start filling out all the forms and then submit the application as soon as possible. But then we realized we have to provide the marriage certificate as well. So we had no choice but to wait for a few days until we received copies of marriage certificate. So we could only start researching all the forms that we need to fill out for this immigration process. Now let's talk about all the forms that we need to submit. I'll begin by talking about the four main forms first. One should be completed by our US citizen spouse, which is the I-130 is petition for alien relative, and the rest of the three forms will be completed by us who is applying for the green card. These forms includes the I-485, which is the application to register for permanent residence, I-765, application for employment authorization, and lastly, I-131 is application for travel documents. The last two forms will allow us to be able to work in the US or travel outside of the US while waiting for the green card. So at first, I thought that we just need to submit those four main forms, but later on, we realized that we have to include 4 additional forms in the application packet as well. These forms includes the G1145. This will allow USCIS to be able to send us email or text messages once they have accepted our application. The second one is the I-130A. This is just to collect additional information about us who's applying for the green card. And there is also I-864. The purpose of this form is to demonstrate to USCIS that our spouse will be able to support us financially and will not likely ending up needing the support from the US government. And the last form is I-693. The full name is Report of Immigration Medical Examination and Vaccination Record. This form is to see if we are healthy and will be completed by a civil surgeon. I will talk a little bit more about this form later on in this video. One thing that you have to be really careful before completing all these forms is to make sure that these forms are at the latest version. Because if it's not, USCIS can reject your application. So in the beginning, we wanted to complete all the forms by ourselves. We tried, but then we realized we didn't know how to complete so many sections. We had so many doubts and we spent a lot of time researching, and still we didn't know if we were doing it right or not. So while doing all those research, one day we came across Simple Citizen. Just to clarify first, this video is not sponsored. We pay for their services by ourselves. So you probably wonder, what is Simple Citizen? It is basically a company that offers service to make your immigration process easier. And here's the list of the type of immigration process that they can help you with. For marriage-based green card, they have two different types of packages to choose from, which are the deluxe and the professional. For us, we decided to choose the professional package and we paid $849. The extra benefits from this was that we could have a kickoff call with the attorney before we start our application process. We had our application reviewed twice before we submitted it. And then they could assist us if USCIS will ever request for the RFE. So Simple Citizen have created a user-friendly platform that streamlines the whole process. Instead of filling out each form separately with the same information like your name, your address, your number, and then running the risk of making the small errors, you can just input your information in that platform and then it will just automatically populates the information into all the required forms. Now let's take a closer look at our application process. As I mentioned earlier, we had a kickoff call with the attorney. This allows attorney to be able to understand how our application process is going to be like, and also for us to address our concern and also gaining the advice on the additional evidence. So the next step is to begin filling out all the information on that platform, and whenever we had any doubt or any question, we could just go to the live chat and ask the case manager, and usually they will confirm with the attorney as well. So that was very convenient and it gives us a peace of mind. The next step is to upload all the supporting documents. On the Simple Citizen platform, they actually indicate which documents are required and which documents are optional. For us, it took us more than a month to complete this step. This is because I had to undergo the medical examination, and at that time, our marriage was still quite new. So we had to gather and also create the evidence to be able to convince USCIS that our relationship is genuine. Now let's get into details about these supporting documents, and I have put these documents in 3 different sets. The first set of the document is the document about us who's applying for the green card, or actually referred to as beneficiaries by USCIS. The first document is the birth certificate. This one has to be translated into English. Thankfully, Simple Citizen offered the translation service and it was very convenient, but it's very important to double check for the translation errors. The second document is the Form I-94. It's basically the record of when we enter the US. You can access the information and take a screenshot of it from this website or click the link down below in the description box. And the remaining documents are the marriage certificate, US visa, and passport. The second set of the documents is for proving a genuine marriage, which are the pieces of evidence that confirm that our relationship is real. So from my understanding, USCIS actually considers some of the evidence is to be strong evidence and some of the evidence to be a weak evidence. So that's why I'm going to divide into these 2 categories, and I'll begin by talking about the evidence that is considered strong. The first piece of evidence that is considered to be strong is related to the joint asset or co-mingling fund. This can be the joint bank account, a share 401k or the pension plan, an investment account, or money transferred through your mobile app like Zelle or Venmo between you and your spouse. In our case, we were able to provide the proof of the joint bank account and also the evidence that I'm the beneficiary of my spouse Roth IRA. It's worth knowing that we were able to open the account without the social security number, and only limited number of banks allow this option. The second strong piece of the evidence is a joint insurance statement. We supply the proof that I am covered under his insurance. The third piece of evidence, which is considered to be a very, very strong piece of evidence, is the proof of joint financial responsibility. This can include share loans, a credit card statement, or share mortgage. In our case, we provide the proof of credit card statements. In order to be able to do this, husband has to add you as an authorized user, and then you have to wait for the credit card statements to be issued in the following month. Another piece of the evidence that we provide under this category was the picture of our credit cards with the same account number, but just my name on one card and his name on the other card. The fourth strong piece of evidence is the proof of living together. There are various ways to establish this. This can include a share mortgage, a lease agreement, same address on the driver's license, or even receiving mails or packages with both of your name on them. In our case, because we are living with my in-law, so that's why we don't have any share mortgage, we don't have any lease agreement, so we can't provide that. And at that time, I couldn't get my driver's license as well. So I chose to ask my mother-in-law to write a letter confirming that we are currently living with her. She also provided the signature and also a photocopy of her ID to verify her identity. The other strong piece of evidence that we couldn't provide at all was the proof of share utilities and also the jointly filed tax return. This is because we are living with my in-law. Also, we've never filed any tax together in the past.
Lastly, you can also provide the birth certificate of your child in case you have a child together.
Now let's have a look at what kind of evidence would consider to be weak evidence. The first one is the bona fide marriage photograph, which is the photo proof of our relationship. I know even though this one is considered to be a weak evidence, but I still believe it's very important to provide this piece of evidence. So I started by collecting all the photos that we took together throughout the relationship. Try to include around 50 to 100 photos, and then you can put those photos on a Google document, each page containing 1 to 2 photos. I also provided the description of who was in the photo, where was the person standing in the photo, when and where was the photo taken, and also the description of what was happening in the photo. I don't know if this description is actually necessary, but I wanted the USCIS to be able to understand the context of each photo. Okay, so if you ask me what kind of photo you should include in there, try to include the photos that are not selfie and also the photos that you took with your friends and family. Besides those photos, I also provided the screenshot of my social media post of the photos that we took together. Make sure that the timestamps are visible. I also included a screenshot of my Google timeline of when we first met, because that's when we weren't comfortable taking photos with each other yet. I don't know if this is necessary, but I just want to be creative and show USCIS that our relationship is genuine. The additional evidence that we also provided are the hotel's booking, the flights ticket, reservation or ticket with both of our name on them, the receipt for the ring, a Sam's Club membership, a shared Netflix account, me listed as his emergency contact for his work, 3 to 5 letters of support from our friends and family, along with a signature and a photocopy for their ID, and more. Because at that time, our marriage was still quite new, so we didn't have that many strong pieces of evidence. That's why we had to be creative and also provided a variety of evidence. This was recommended by the attorney that took care of our case. Now come to the final set of the documents. This document is related to our spouse or referred to as petitioner by USCIS. So this set includes the birth certificate, the most recent year's federal tax return, a letter from the employer, the ID, this can be passport, driver's license, or other photo ID, the pay stub for the last 6 months, and also W-2 forms for the most recent tax year. Additionally, they can also submit the federal tax return and W-2 forms for the second and third most recent year. Simple Citizen makes this step so much easier because they provide the detailed description of what kind of these documents are under each category. Another important document that I really need to discuss about is the report of immigration, medical examination, and vaccination record. So at first, we planned to do this medical examination just before we go for an interview because we were afraid that it might not be valid by the time we go for an interview. But then we learned from Simple Citizen that it's better that we submit it along with other applications because this can prevent getting the RFE from USCIS and getting the whole process delayed because the validity of this document is actually 2 years, which is long enough. To start this process, you need to locate a local designated civil sergeant on a USCIS website and then give them a call and then check for their availability and also the price. The price can range from $100 to $900. In Illinois, it is common that most doctor's offices do not have this service covered by insurance and you have to pay by cash. For us, we paid $649. In other states, I'm not sure, but I know one of my friends, she could use her insurance. When you go for the medical examinations, you have to bring your vaccines record. This includes the COVID-19 vaccines as well. On the day of the doctor's visit, I underwent a physical examination, answered a few questions regarding my health, and had my blood drawn. Drawing the blood will help determine what kind of vaccines is missing for me. And keep in mind, if you need to get any of these missing vaccines, try to go to any place that your insurance is accepted. So it took around 3 days until I received my blood test result and also the completed I-693 forms from the civil surgeon. So it wasn't that long at all. So it comes in like an envelope like this. In front, it say like, do not open it. This is written by a doctor. So don't open this, keep this safe. It's not for us to look at it, okay? Another important thing that you also need to provide is the 8 passport size photo of you and another 2 from your spouse. For us, we took the photos at home just to save some money, and then we adjusted online, and then we printed out at the nearby convenience store. Once we had everything completed, Simple Citizen arranged the entire package for us and requested our case attorney to review it. Then our attorney informed us if there were any mistake and assessed if our evidence was strong enough to convince USCIS. Our application were reviewed twice, and we also had a final video call with the attorney to finalize everything before they printed out and shipped it to us. It was actually a very, very quick process because they printed out and shipped it to us on the same day.
We received the application package just 4 days after receiving the email that it had been sent to us. The application packet arrived neatly in a box. Once we opened the box, the first thing we found was this postcard-like paper. On the back of it, there is a signature guide. Green corresponds to the green page marker on the application, indicating where our spouse should sign, while blue page markers were for us to sign. Inside the big Ziploc bag, you will find a letter from the CEO of Simple Citizen. They also provided us with a black pen, so we don't even have to question what kind of pen we should use to sign. There are 2 small Ziploc pouches with samples of passport size photo, where we can put our photos along with samples of checks with a detailed guide on how much we should pay and whose name should be on each of them. Although we use a different payment method, but I will definitely provide an explanation of the payment methods shortly. There are also instructions on things we have to complete before submitting this application. These are very detailed instructions that will answer all your doubts and questions regarding anything. They also prepared the envelope with the USCIS lockbox address ready to put your application packet inside once you have completed it. In the application packet, you can clearly see the page markers on the side and inside the paper. We made sure to sign everywhere that we were supposed to avoid this application being rejected. They also clearly indicated where we should place our medical examination envelope, and this is what our bona fide marriage photographs look like.
Alright guys, so in order to complete your application, you guys are going to have to pay 2 government fees to submit the 485 and 130 form. There's a couple ways you guys can do that. You can do that either with a personal check, a money order, or a credit card or debit card. But just a couple things to note here. If you guys do decide to pick one of the forms of payment, make sure you're going to be able to use that payment for both forms. So if you decide to do a check for the 485 payment, you're going to also have to do a check for the 130 payment. You guys do 2 separate forms of payment, they're going to reject your application right off the bat. Quick things to note about the personal check and money order. Just know it has to be from a US-based bank or a US-based financial institution. And if you guys do decide to do a check, this is an example of how to fill out the check for a 485 fee. Make sure you make it out to the US Department of Homeland Security. In the memo section, make sure to put the application's full name and put that it's for the I-485 form. The second check should look like this here. Also made out to the US Department of Homeland Security. And in the memo section, the petitioner's full name is going to go on for the I-130 form. If you do money order, you're going to have to fill out the money order. I don't have an example of it, but it's still going to be made out to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. If you guys do decide to go with a credit card, you're going to have to go online to uscis.gov website. I'll print out 2 Form G 1450 forms and fill that form out, one for the 485 and one for the 130 application. We decided to pay with a credit card because we thought it would be the safest form of payment in terms of getting lost, getting stolen. Secondly, we were thinking about the points that we could receive with paying these fees, but later realized that credit card or debit card is probably one of the worst forms of payment that you guys can use, for the simple fact that a lot of times these credit card companies reject these fees as fraud when the USCIS tries to run these applications. And if that happens, they're just going to return your application. That could potentially delay your case even longer. Thankfully for us, the credit card went through no problem. So if you guys do decide you want to gamble like we did, just make sure you contact your bank right away. Let them know that you're going to have these charges come through. Let them know the amount. Let them know when approximately you're going to be seeing these charges or where it's going to be charged from, and that potentially will hopefully eliminate the chance of getting rejected.
In case if you have decided that you want to handle the process yourself, let's walk through how you can assemble your application. First of all, you have to print out all the documents on a single page. And there's actually no single right way for putting it all together, as long as you make sure that it's well organized and it's easy for USCIS to navigate through.
Consider using a large binder clip or a metal prong paper fastener at the top of the paper to gather all of your documents. Avoid using stapler, binder, or folder. Using this make it difficult for USCIS to disassemble.
Now let's talk about how we arrange our own application package. We started off by writing our own full name on the back of our own photo using a pencil. And then place these photos into 2 separate Ziploc pouches and then use the paper clip clipping them together along with the first page of the package. As I mentioned earlier, we use credit card as a form of payment, so we include the 2 form of the G1450 as the first 2 pages of the package. However, if you have chosen to pay with the personal checks or the money order, then you can use the paper clip to clip those pouches with the checks or the money order, then clip them together with the first page of the package. Now on to the next page, which is the cover letter. This is to provide a rundown of what's inside the package. Following that, you just have to line up the rest of the document based on this order. To sign the application, you must use the black ballpoint pen, so to make sure that it doesn't seep through to the next page. Once you've got everything sorted and we've made sure that we sign everywhere that we're supposed to sign, then we put the application package into the envelope that was provided by Simple Citizen. Now where do you ship this application package to? You can find the shipping address by searching for the USCIS lockbox filing location charts for certain family-based forms. The shipping address is different based on where you live and also which shipping company you want to utilize.
For us, we shipped our application with FedEx. We also chose to place our application in plastic envelope to make sure that the application package does not get ruined on the way to USCIS. We opted for standard shipping since our package was sent within the same state, and we spent around $11 on the shipping cost.
We thought about it a lot. What would happen if we decided not to hire Simple Citizen and save that $849? I believe it was possible, but we might have gotten our application rejected because of the small mistake, wasted so much more time on the research, and the process of arranging the application would have been so complicated for us. They truly really gave us the peace of mind because they are the company that experienced in this field, so they know what they're doing. I've heard a few people that manage the whole process by themselves, but these individuals that I know, they present a strong case. Originally, I planned to discuss my timeline in this video, but this video is getting way too long, so please stay tuned for the next one. Please remember, the purpose of this video is not to provide a legal advice, but more like me sharing my experience and what I've learned throughout this process with all of you. So if you guys have any question, if I missed out any information, if you've just been through this process and would like to share your experience, please feel free to comment down below in the comment section. This is the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.